It started with a whisper. A cold wind swept through the forest of Black Hollow, curling through the trees like a serpent of frost. The villagers spoke little of the past, and even less of the things that once prowled under the moon. But old superstitions have long shadows, and Black Hollow's shadow was the longest of them all. They said the woods were cursed, that something ancient stirred when the moon turned full. Animals disappeared, children were born with strange eyes, and sometimes people changed. The first sign was the howling. Not from wolves. The villagers knew wolves. This was something else, deeper, hungrier. It didn't cry to the moon, it called it down. Then came the footprints. Enormous, clawed and barefoot, found near chicken coops torn apart like paper, found near windows, found near doors. That winter, the snow didn't fall. It bled. A hunter named Elias was the first to go missing. He was the best tracker in the region. Tough, silent, respected. They found his coat days later, drenched in blood, nailed to the church door. No body. By then, the town understood. The stories were not stories. The curse had returned, and the full moon was just 3 nights away. The people of Black Hollow had grown used to silence, but now that silence carried weight. It groaned with the pressure of the past clawing its way into the present. Children cried at night. Dogs whimpered beneath porches. The trees themselves seemed to shiver in anticipation. Something was coming, and it wasn't just the cold. Father Gustav stood at the altar, candlelight dancing across his hollow face. His eyes, sunken and red-rimmed, bore the look of a man who'd seen things others would never believe. "This is not just a beast," he whispered to the few gathered. "It's the devil wearing flesh, a punishment for our sins. Most villagers were too scared to leave their homes, but a few, like Lena, the blacksmith's daughter, refused to cower. She believed in the legends, and in her father's old silver blade, hidden beneath the forge like a secret waiting for its time. The village prepared defenses, salt around windows, nails blessed with holy water, ancient symbols carved into doors, but none of them truly believed it would help. Superstition felt foolish when death stood outside your door. The moon rose, and with it, the screaming. Livestock was slaughtered. A boy was dragged from his bed. The town bell shattered at midnight, struck not by rope, but by something tall, fast, and impossible to see. The next morning, the villagers found the boy's heart hanging from a tree. His eyes were still open, frozen, terrified. Whatever hunted them was not a simple beast. It was playing with them, testing their fear, enjoying it, and it was only beginning. Black Hollow became a ghost town. By the 3rd week, 15 people had vanished. No bodies, no tracks, only blood. And that howling, always that howling, through the pines. It never seemed to come from the same place twice. Daniel, a quiet farmhand with a soft voice and a pointed lips, began to change. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. His eyes turned pale. He heard voices in his dreams, voices that called him into the forest. One night, Lena followed him. She watched him walk into the woods barefoot, half naked, as if in a trance. She followed the sound of his breathing until it stopped. When she found him, Daniel was kneeling in a circle of bones, surrounded by dozens of animal carcasses. His skin was slick with sweat, his lips muttering words that didn't sound human. He looked up at her and smiled with teeth that weren't his. That's when Lena knew. Daniel was no longer fully human, and maybe he never was. The town's elders held a secret meeting that night, not to fight the beast, but to decide which family would leave next. A ritual offering disguised as exile. It was ancient, barbaric, but they were desperate. The forest had rules, and breaking them came with blood. Snow finally fell, thick, silent and pure, but it didn't stay white for long. The townspeople, desperate and paranoid, formed a hunting party. Armed with torches, axes and silver, they marched into the woods. They didn't return. 3 days later, only one man stumbled back. His name was Corwin. He had no eyes, no tongue, and carvings on his chest that formed a single word: run. Lena took shelter in the old chapel with Father Gustav. Outside, the snow was red. Inside, the candlelight flickered against walls painted with ancient warnings. Daniel visited her in the night. He came to her in dreams first, offering visions of forests made of bone, skies black with wings, and a moon that bled like an open wound. Then he came in person, not Daniel, but what he had become, a creature of muscle, fur, and fury. A predator hiding inside the skin of a boy she once knew. Yet, even then, his eyes still knew her name. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Something deep within her recognized him and pitied him. Father Gustav's hands trembled as he opened the ancient tome beneath the chapel's altar. The pages were brittle, ink faded, but the truth burned through every line. The curse of Black Hollow wasn't a myth. It was a covenant, a blood pact forged centuries ago between desperate settlers and an ancient force that roamed the earth under the guise of the full moon. This land was never ours, he confessed, voice hoarse, eyes dim. We took it, and they warned us, but we stayed. The werewolves were not monsters by chance. They were guardians of the pact, a lineage tasked with maintaining the balance. But the villagers, blinded by greed, broke the sacred rule: never spill innocent blood under moonlight. That's when the protectors became predators. Daniel wasn't possessed. He was chosen, the last of the bloodline meant to uphold the covenant. But the old ways had been forgotten, twisted, buried beneath superstition and fear. Now, the forest demanded justice, retribution. There's a ritual, Gustav continued, revealing a page inked in crimson and charcoal. It can end this, but it needs a willing heart, pure, brave, and ready to break the bond. All eyes turned to Lena. She was no priest, no lawyer, just a girl with a silver blade and a scarlet soul. But she carried love, real, painful love, to the boy who once laughed with her under summer skies. She knew what had to be done, not for vengeance, for peace. But not all agreed. Whispers of rebellion grew among the survivors. Father Gustav, now unraveling under the weight of truth, questioned the ritual. What if we bring something worse? He pleaded. What if we wake something older? The chapel cracked with tension. Torches were lit, accusations thrown. Some called for Lena's exile, fearing her resolve would doom them all. Others begged her to try, clinging to the hope that the nightmare might end. Outside, the moon rose higher. Inside, Lena kissed the blade and waited. Morning never truly came to Black Hollow. The sky remained bruised, heavy with mist, as if nature itself held its breath. Lena descended into the chapel's cellar, where the ritual was to take place. Only 5 remained now: Gustav, Lena, 2 farmers, and young Marek, whose parents had vanished days earlier. Candles formed a circle. Salt lines were drawn. The sacred dagger, forged from silver and obsidian, lay upon an altar carved with old runes. And then he entered. Daniel. Not the beast, not yet. Just the boy. Barefoot, hollow-eyed, torn between man and monster. I can't fight it anymore, he said, voice breaking. Please, before it takes me completely. He knelt, eyes closed, silent. But fate is cruel. A gust shattered the cellar door. The moonlight slithered in. Daniel screamed, a sound no human throat should make. His bones cracked, muscles tore. The transformation came fast, brutal, and final. The alpha stood tall, fanged, ferocious, and yet, for a heartbeat, it remembered her. Lena stepped forward. Tears burned her cheeks. Her hand steadied. Her voice, trembling, whispered his name. The beast lunged, but not at her. At Gustav, who had drawn a second blade. It tore through the priest in a blur of blood and fury, then turned to Lena once more. She whispered, "Forgive me." The dagger plunged into the beast's chest, not with rage, but with mourning, with mercy. The howl that followed shattered the stones of the chapel, echoed through mountains, and silenced the forest. Then, stillness. As the sun rose, Black Hollow smoldered. The snow melted for the first time in weeks. Birds returned to the trees. Lena walked alone from the ruins, carrying nothing but a scar on her hand and Daniel's pendant. The curse was over, but legend says, on nights when the moon is fullest and the air still carries winter's bite, you can still hear the final howl, and somewhere in the heart of the forest, the trees remember.